That's going to surprise some people, I'm sure. So it's when a PFR finally finishes their sentence and is moving forward. What should folks keep in mind?
Yes.
You are the expert explainer in chief about all things criminal justice, pre, post, during, after, prison, court, all that stuff. After they've spent their $100,000 defending themselves and still end up going to prison and get on the registry for their life, all that.
Well, if you finish PFR probation in most states, that's huge because they are destined to find a way to violate most individuals. So that's been years of reporting and restrictions and constant stress of worrying about small mistakes that can put you back in court and possibly prison. So when that ends, it's a huge relief and weight off of their shoulders, I'm quite sure.
That's going to surprise some people, I'm sure. Can you walk us through how that could be possible, that a person ends up with, a PFR type conviction, but then doesn't end up on the registry after their supervision?
Sure, I can do that. So not every sexual offense will trigger a duty to register. For example, in many states, practically I think all states, indecent exposure is a crime, but it doesn't put you on the registry in many states unless it's in the presence of a minor where a minor could have seen it, or if it's your second or third or fourth conviction. So each state sets its own rules for what triggers a duty to register. And sometimes there'll be plea negotiations for getting a plea that will be to an offense that doesn't require registration. For example, the person might plead to contributing to the delinquency of a minor when they actually had unlawful sex with a minor, and that still gives the state their felony conviction, but it would not trigger in my state a registration obligation. It would trigger it in many states because they have that inclusive category of if it was sexually motivated, there's a separate finding. But in my state, it must be on the list. So there's ways that you can avoid registration.
If someone is eligible to avoid registration, it often comes down to what? Sentencing, negotiations, a tarot card reading, Rochambeau, rock, paper, scissors, maybe legal defense strategies?
Well, it can be most of everything you mentioned there. Early advocacy can really matter when a person gets arrested. If they get lawyered up with the right lawyer and they get in treatment and they recognize they have a problem and that they're dealing with the problem, sometimes there can be a rational prosecutor and they offer a non-registrable misdemeanor, or the judge has some discretion in not ordering registration.